LEGO Star Wars celebrates its 25th anniversary this year with almost 1,000 sets out by now. But which of those 25 years was actually the best for LEGO Star Wars? Well, I've got an answer to that question, so drop a sub and your opinion in the comments, and now let's get into why 2014 was LEGO Star Wars' best year ever. Now, this may stir some controversy, but I firmly believe 2014 to be LEGO Star Wars' best year so far. Not to say that other years haven't been great, especially in the research leading up to this video, I found it to be really difficult to actually choose one specific year. I'm not a fan of saying LEGO Star Wars has fallen off, but there was definitely a golden era in the early 2010s, so if you want to see a video on that, get this one to, I don't know, 50 likes, that seems somewhat reasonable. But how do you grade a year? The three big aspects a year needs to excel in are, in order of most to least important, the quality of sets, the variety of sets, and its UCS set. We'll go through each one and I'll tell you why 2014 stands out over all those others that could have been titled LEGO Star Wars' best year. In total, 2014 Star Wars catalog was made up of 30 readily available sets, as well as 5 polybags and some other accessories. As this year's UCS set will get a whole segment at the end of the video, let's look at the other 4 flagship sets first. There were the Imperial Star Destroyer, the AT-AT, the MTT and the Ghost. Just looking at these sets, there's not one person that can deny that these were great. The weakest of these 4 was probably the MTT, and in just saying that, it becomes obvious how strong these sets were. The Imperial Star Destroyer is an amazing set, and while I'm a little partial towards 2024's variant, many people still find this to be the Star Destroyer's definitive version. The AT-AT is definitely no longer the best version of its respective movie counterpart, but nonetheless, it was a big step up from 2010's iteration. Now, I said just a few sentences ago that the weakest of these was the MTT, since it's the only one of these that didn't improve on its predecessor. It's still a good set, but unlike the Star Destroyer or the AT-AT, it's outdone by its 2007 counterpart. And well, the Ghost is just a great set, and it took until last year nearly a whole decade to get an upgrade. So these 4 flagship sets absolutely deliver, which brings us into the equally, if not more impressive midrange sets. The Mos Eisley Cantina is still the best non-UCS iteration of its kind, easily beating out 2018's version by delivering 8 figures, a molded U-bag and an additional Sandspeeder, all at a price of $70. 2014's AT-AP is pretty much on par with 2019's one, in my opinion at least, also giving us our first P2 Commander Gree and an updated Tarful. The Jedi Scout Fighter was definitely an odd choice, especially because it was based off the Yoda Chronicles, but it was undoubtedly a fun build that absolutely delivered in the minifigure category, giving us our first Ithorian and RA7 droid figure. Both the Police Coruscant Gunship and Republic AV7 anti-vehicle cannon gave us pretty good builds with amazing figure selections and continue to stay unique until this very day. Since 2014 there have been no more V-Wings, Vulture Droids, Droid Tri-Fighters or B-Wings sadly, but 2014's versions are definitely by far still the best minifig scale version of these models. Really, the only 2 sets that have been probably outdone since 2014 in this mid-range are the Snowspeeder and the Droid Gunship. 2019 takes it away from both of these models, but at a price point of $30 and $50, there really is nothing you can complain about with these 2 sets. The sub-$30 category is the one where 2014 kinda drops off and shines at the very same time. There are plainly mediocre/okay sets in here, like the Jedi Interceptor, the Phantom, the Death Star Troopers Battle Pack or the Star Destroyer Microfighter. Sure, these sets had some redeeming qualities, like the fact that the Phantom could connect to the Ghost for example, but they just weren't anything special. On the other hand, LEGO released some really affordable bangers during this time as well. General Grievous Wheel Bike at a price point of $25 gave us our first live-action Grievous figure in 7 years and a build that majorly upgraded 2005's General Grievous chase. The Battle of Saleucami was one I don't remember as being brilliant, but looking at its retail price of a mere $15, there really isn't anything anyone can complain about. Sure, the speeder wasn't great, but you still got 4 droids, Stab Speeder and Commander Neo for the price of a battle pack. What more could you want? Speaking of battle packs though, while the Death Star Troopers Battle Pack was a bit shite, the Kashyyyk Troopers and Utapau Trooper ones might be 2 of the best battle packs ever made. They give you unique clones, but once you can army build without the slightest issue, all at the old battle pack price of $15. If you want to go even lower though, the other 5 microfighters apart from the Star Destroyer were fantastic too. The AAT, Millennium Falcon, the TIE Interceptor and the X-Wing were already good, but the Clone Turbo Tank was the cherry on top. Potentially the greatest microfighter ever, but that's a question for another day. And before I forget, the polybags were all decent, but 2014 did have the best May 4th promo of all time in Darth Revan. The only other contenders are probably this year's Trade Federation Troop Carrier or 2011's Shadow Arf Trooper, but other than that, none come even close. So as you can see, this whole year was made up of absolutely incredible sets, with less than a handful not being great. Not bad, just not great like the rest. But a year can have brilliant sets, yet still not be the greatest when it caters to only a portion of its consumers, which is why we'll now look at the variety of sets. Optimally, you want a very even spread between all the movies and TV shows, as well as in terms of price. As we've discussed already, this year had a plethora of sub $20 bangers, so that's out of the way already, but what about the variety in terms of sub-themes? Well, few years have done it as well as this one. Out of the 30 sets, 29 after subtracting the advent calendar, no bigger subcategory has more than 13 sets. The prequels are the biggest part here, with 13, as I've just mentioned. Of course, you could also add Clone Wars to it with its 2 sets, but especially since the figures are so different, I've decided to differentiate here. Directly behind the prequels are the originals then, with 11 sets. Really not far off, and the Age of the Empire also gets an additional 2 Rebel sets. So between the two big categories that existed during this time, the time of the prequels and the time of the originals, they are almost even here with 15 to 13. Actually 15 to 14, since the Yoda Chronicles got a single set in 2014 as well, which was set during the Age of the Empire. A split like this is basically unheard of, especially in comparison to some other years. 2009 was great for LEGO Star Wars, at least if you were a Clone Wars fan, since that sub-theme took up nearly 69% of all sets that year. 2008 wasn't too dissimilar, and if you look at every prequel set from that year, they made up 75% of the 16 sets, with only 3 coming from the original trilogy and 1 from The Force Unleashed. They've been getting better with this over time, even though there was a shortage of prequel sets for some time, but few have done it as well as 2014. Which brings us to our final point, the UCS set. Admittedly, 2014's UCS set wasn't the creme de la creme of UCS sets. I personally love the Sandcrawler. I think it looks beautiful and perfectly captures the grandeur of that model from the movies. In my humble opinion, it's one of the most underrated UCS sets ever, and believe me, when I do my video on the history of Star Wars box art, you know I'ma talk about this and that as well. But, matter of fact is, there are better ones, which is why this category also made it the hardest for me to choose the best year. Some other years faltered here as well. 2012 was long in contention, but the B-Wing was just too weak of a model. 2010 had one of the best UCS sets of all time, the Imperial Shuttle, but it also had one of the most boring ones, Obi-Wan's Jedi Star Fighter. 2013 and 2015 made it particularly hard for me, respectively with the Ewok Village and the X-Wing, as well as the Slave One and the TIE Fighter. I mentioned earlier that this was the least important of the category, since it's usually just 1 or 2 sets, and believe me, 2012 and 2010 had some other reasons as well why they didn't make it. If I chose only based on UCS sets, it would have absolutely been 2015, but let's just say there is a ranking of all UCS sets planned in the future, so look forward to that. But I hope I made it clear now why I think 2014 was the best year in LEGO Star Wars' history so far. Yet there is still a question unanswered, that being what LEGO Star Wars Anniversary was actually the best. If you want to find out the answer to that, I recommend you check out this video right here, and if you just want more Star Wars content, click the playlist here. However though, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and until next time, may the Force be with you.